Hello and welcome back to Talk About Strange. Man, have I got a great story for you. Do not go away. You're going to love this. I want to give you a couple quick updates before we get started, but I'm not going to take too long. I want to get right onto this. I got the membership program set up, so please, you guys, if you can, join that membership. It's going to really help support the channel. I really appreciate all the comments that are coming through and suggestions. We got our clothing line is almost done. The store will be open as soon as I get some actual material that I got to have the measurements and information. Boy, I had no idea what I was getting into there. Thank you so much for the compliments on the new logo and suggestions for that. That's going on the shirts and sweatshirts and whatever else we can think of. So cups, tumblers. So look for that in the store. I got the store half built. We're almost there. Let me see, what else do we got? Boy, we got a lot of stuff going on here. I got an update from Wendy. That's coming very soon here. I gotta kind of screen through that first, but she has made contact with Amarak, and so this is big. This is big news. So keep an eye open for that. I'll be sending that to you here soon. I think that's about it for now. I want to get on to this. This is turning into a trilogy. I had no idea. Wow, but let's just get started and you'll know what I'm talking about soon, all right? Hello, Steve. Thank you for creating this wonderful place for us to talk about our experiences. For the first time in my life, I feel like I can finally talk about it. Just the fact I'm typing this out right now is slowly lifting a weight off from my chest. However, for some reason, my hands are still trembling. I took your advice and looked into how to remain anonymous with my information. I really appreciate that. I hope you don't think we don't trust you, because speaking for me and probably a lot of the people that follow you, we do. With that said, please refer to me as Jane. Jane, I absolutely do not think that. If you want to keep your information private, that is the best way to do it. So anybody that, if you have something that you feel is risky to send or extremely sensitive, private, there's ways to, you can look it up, Google it, but there's ways to protect your identity and stuff. And you got to let me know up front. If you don't mind, just let me know. If you just ask me to keep it private, I'll keep it private, okay? I'll do the best I can. But do your due diligence, so if you need to. If you don't mind, I will go ahead and start explaining to you why I'm writing today. Like Wendy and Amarak, I had a similar situation, only this took place in Washington State. It was 1982. I was 16 at the time. I can't tell you what town I lived in because that might give away who I am. I was dating a Yakima Indian boy at the time, and we wanted to get married. Of course, my parents were dead set against it. So I did what any angry teenager in love would do. I ran away with him. I left my parents a note saying I loved them, but they didn't understand. My parents had money and a lot of connections, so we decided to gather some supplies and go hide out in the forest of the Yakima reservation until things cooled off. We were only there about 3 days when I started to realize what my parents had been talking about. He was a real jerk. Moreover, I had no idea how much I would miss taking showers and fixing my hair in the mirror. All we did was argue the whole time we were there, and all he did was smoke weed. On the 5th day, I was starving and wanted to go home, but he refused to take me. So we got in a huge fight. I slapped his face and told him I was going home and walked away, with no idea where I was going. I thought for sure he would follow me, but obviously he didn't. Like a fool, instead of walking out, I was walking into the forest. Before I realized it, I was lost, hungry, alone, and terrified, especially when night came. My voice was gone from screaming for help. All I could do was curl up in a ball and cry. I thought for sure I'd never see morning. I figured a mountain lion, a bear, or something would come along and kill me during the night. I didn't sleep a wink all night. When the sun came up, I started walking again to no avail, and the night came once again and again. Along the way, I found some berries to eat and water from the stream. I even found a bird's nest and actually ate the eggs raw. It was gross. About 3 days in, I found a bunch of berries on a bush. I didn't recognize them, and I didn't care at the moment. I was just hungry. so I ate them and got extremely sick. I prayed that it was finally going to be over, thinking I was about to die. I think at one point I even screamed to the heavens to take me. I don't know how long I was unconscious, but I remember being carried for a long time. I felt so relieved that somebody finally found me. I didn't care who it was. All I knew was I wasn't alone anymore. I came to slowly. Everything was spinning, and it was dark. Someone helped me sit up and handed me a bowl of water. I remember feeling his hand as I took the bowl. It was covered in hair. Honestly, I thought it was a glove or something. The water tasted funny. It was sweet, almost fruity. But I drank it and laid back down. I think I asked where I was, but fell asleep before I got an answer. When I came to again, it was a little lighter and I felt a lot better. My eyes didn't adjust yet, and he handed me a bowl of water again. I was drinking it when I opened my eyes and looked at him for the first time. I screamed and threw the bowl at him. Then I tried to run, but my legs disagreed with me and I fell down. Now my eyes were working better, so I looked around for him and to see if I could escape. He was backed into a corner of what I now realized was a cave. I begged him, please don't hurt me. I started to realize he wasn't at all aggressive, as it dawned on me that he was the one that carried me out of the forest. I asked him where I was, and he just stared at me. As I calmed down, I took a better look. He was completely covered in hair from head to toe, except for his face and palms of his hands. He wasn't human, but he wasn't a monkey either. I didn't know what he was. I guess I started to figure he escaped from a circus or something, and he was just half man, half ape. I asked him if he was going to hurt me, and he still just stared. He looked just as confused by me as I did him. I looked for a way out and carefully walked toward the light coming from the entrance. He stayed there and just watched. The entrance was covered in bushes. I had to push my way through them in order to get out. On the other side, all I could see was forest. I was looking for a direction to leave, but at the same time, I was remembering what happened the last time. I heard something walking towards me from the trees, and this big, massive creature came walking out, looking at me, and made a grunt-like growl. I ran back into the cave and hid in a dark corner where I started to cry. After a while, he walked out and came back with a bowl full of water and some kind of fruit. It took a while, but I was starving. I pulled myself together and ate it. It was really good. Little by little, he got me to leave the cave with him. I figured it would be safer if I played along. I realized fast that we didn't understand each other at all. Over time, he started introducing me to the others. There were 2 very big fellows and 3 not so big, but larger than normal people. 4 females. 1 had a baby, and 1 seemed very old. The other 2 just seemed to be average age for them. The females weren't nearly as big as the males. FYI, their junk wasn't hanging down to their knees or anything like that, like some people seem to assume. With some exception to the really big one, I guess you could say he was gifted, if you will. Great. Oh, boy. Children. There were what I figured to be the younger adult ones, and the one that helped me seemed to be like a teenager, I guess. I continued to look for a way to leave as the days turned into weeks, then months. I slowly started to learn how to understand them through body language and sounds. Sky taught me to fish and collect food. I named him Sky because every time an airplane flew over, he would stare at the sky. I found out why the water was sweet. They had a deep hole in the ground that was full of water, and they had their fruit floating in it. At first it looked disgusting, but if you're thirsty enough, it's just water. It seemed as though everyone had their own things that they did to contribute to the group. I tried my best, but I didn't always feel welcomed by a couple of the females, so I stayed clear of them. I slept in the cave where Sky brought me. He slept by the entrance. Somehow I think he was protecting me, maybe from the others. At one point it became very cold. I was freezing to the point of hypothermia setting in. Sky started bringing in armloads of dry leaves and brush. It wasn't enough though. He was handing me some water. When I felt the warmth of his hands, I realized what I needed if I was going to survive. So I held his hand and tried to tell him that I needed him to hold me so I could get warm again. He understood and awkwardly laid down with me. I don't know how they do it, but they seem to be able to self-regulate their body temperatures. He managed to save my life once again. The cold weather passed after about 2 weeks. By that time, I had become accustomed to his companionship. He had become a friend, and somehow I felt like it was becoming more than that. I noticed on more than one occasion he became aroused when we were sleeping. I don't know what came over me, but one night I decided to take it further and let him. I know it's probably wrong, but I figured this was going to be my home now, that I would never be able to leave anyway. It happened more than once, and I ended up pregnant. When the leader of the group found out, he was very angry with Sky. Apparently this wasn't allowed. I could tell they wanted me to leave, but to my surprise, the 2 females stepped in and protected me. They looked after me the entire time. Sky still stayed with me, but slept next to the entrance when they were around. I called the 2 females Rose and Branch, because the one actually smelled like flowers, and the other always carried a branch to swat bugs. They looked after me right up until I gave birth. That was the next most terrifying part of my life. But they got me through it somehow. I gave birth to 2 beautiful, very hairy little babies. I named the boy Hiccup, you can probably guess why, and the girl Lily after my favorite flower. Unfortunately, Lily only lived for about 3 days. I didn't truly know sadness until that day. Rose took her away. I don't know what they did with her. I'm sorry to hear that. Hiccup grew up fast and strong. I was completely amazed by him. After about 3, he could run pretty fast. By 5, he could outrun me and was almost as tall as me, though I'm only 5'6". I never taught him to speak complete sentences, just the basics. His name, my name, mom, dad. Nobody really spoke there. They just seemed to always know what the others were thinking. It was very primitive and simple. I think they kept a lot of it from me and Hiccup, though. Still, I adjusted to them and was very happy. Hiccup was more like his father than me. He was very well covered in hair and made him a great hugger. He understood everyone, but still kept his distance from the leader. I now called him Mountain, because when he stood in front of you, that's what he looked like. One day, when Hiccup was about 8 years old, I said about because out there time is irrelevant. Time is irrelevant. They live for the day and they don't pay any mind to the date and time like we do. We had caught some fish and was headed back when a mountain lion came out from nowhere and grabbed Hiccup and was dragging him away. I screamed for Sky over and over as I chased him and was trying to get him to let go of Hiccup. Sky found us quick and grabbed a lion like a rag doll and forced it to let go. He killed the lion with his bare hands, but in the process he got sliced deep across his stomach and legs. Hiccup died quickly from the injuries to his neck. Over the next several days, Sky's injuries became infected and he died as well. Now I truly knew sadness. I stayed in the cave while they took care of Sky and Hiccup. They wouldn't let me be a part of whatever they do. All I knew was he and my babies were gone, and I had no more reason to stay. For days I stayed in the cave and cried. One night Mountain came in the cave and stood over me. It was the first time he'd ever came in while I was there. I wasn't sure why. I was a bit scared that he was going to kill me, but then again, I really didn't care anymore. He reached down and scooped me up in his massive arms and looked at me, then whispered, "Home." It was the first time he had addressed me. I could see the sadness in his eyes. So I put my arms around his neck, laid my head on his chest, and soon fell asleep to the sound of his heartbeat. He carried me all night until early morning. I woke up as we approached a rundown cabin. An old Indian man met us at the door. They knew each other. Mountain set me down and said it again, "Home." And I watched him walk away back into the forest. The old Indian's name was Charlie. He spoke broken English. I stayed with him until I learned to dress and act like a civilized human again. By that time, I had lived in the forest for 10 years. Believe it or not, it took a while. I still miss my forest family, especially Sky, Lily, and Hiccup. I found out my parents had moved away. It took me 2 more years to find them. I never told them what happened to me, only that I went off and got married. They said it didn't matter, they were just happy to have me back. I wish this had a happier ending for you, but that is my encounter story, if that's what you want to call it. Thank you so very much for giving me a chance to share it. I hope this helps others understand these forest people, aka Sasquatch Bigfoot family. Yours truly, Jane. Oh, why? Why do you do this to me? Oh, my God. I'm a family person, so, I don't care. That's beautiful. That's, wow. Your strength. Thank you for sending this to us. Wow. Your strength is incredible. The fact that that happened to you, and instead of just dying, you seem to adapt and thrive even. That's amazing. Thank you for sending that to us. I am so sorry you lost your family out there. I mean, that's heartbreaking. I don't even know what to say. The viewers here will be kind. I'm sure you'll have some pushback. A few of them do. Don't pay any mind to it. For the most part, you'll get a lot of support here. People, they love this kind of thing and will respect you and admire your strength and what you've been through. Again, all I can say is thank you for sharing this with us. And like I said, this becomes part of the trilogy that's been of people that have been sending in stories about, encounters and pregnancies. And I mean, this is way different, I guess you'd say, really, than what I expected. But you hear about it all the time, all over the world. So thank you so much. If there's anything else, you know how to contact me. And I guess that's it for now. You guys, thank you for watching. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you again very soon.